The Career Corner. Your career and personal development are too important to leave it up to chance. That's this and every Monday at 8:30 a.m. on Fit FM 96.7. Fit FM, your life, your music. Struggling to find the right candidate? Need to streamline your recruitment process with a simple and user-friendly platform? Introducing Career JA, Jamaica's newest and most cost-effective way to hire fast and hire smart. As an employer, you can advertise your jobs, schedule and track interviews, chat with job seekers to build your employee brand, remove the recruitment hassle, and focus on your core business usage by using Career JA today. Career JA, connection made easy.
All right, let me say good morning to Andrew. Andrew, good morning to you. Are you there?
Hi, good morning. Are you hearing me?
Loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear. How you doing this morning?
I'm well. You see, I have my new mic that I told you about.
Yes, man. Man is officially in the studio.
Oh
Wonderful.
boy, I tell you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Right. So what we're doing this here Monday morning, you're up, we're off to a brand new week. How are you feeling about it?
It is in fact a brand new week. It's a brand new month. So Roddy, it's always great to just wake up. I was sharing with my wife last night that have you ever get up in the morning and just really happy that you are alive?
Yes, man.
I'm not sure if you've thought of that, but I have, and I'm very grateful because you've never been given a letter to say tomorrow you
It's
will be
promised.
alive.
That's right.
You just don't know, so you have to be grateful, and I'm grateful. And it's not a cliche. It's coming directly from the heart. So I'm just awesome. It's just great to be here to share with the listeners and the viewers. This morning, we want to look at showing up professionally in a virtual space. As I think we haven't touched on that. And who would have thought that Corona would have still been here? It probably would have been long gone and we back to our previous lives and just carrying on. But that's not the case. It's still here. And it seems as though it's going to be here for quite some time.
That is so.
Yes. So if we're going to be showing up for virtual interviews and virtual meetings, there's a way to do it. We've got to be professional about it. And so that's what we want to talk to the listeners and the viewers about as well for the few minutes that I'm going to be here with you. Yeah? Sounds like a plan?
Sounds like a plan. I've got my pen in hand and ready to take notes.
Oh boy, don't get me scared now, So the first tip, and these are just tips, there's so many. So many tips out there. The first one is dress up. Whenever we're looking at virtual interviews or virtual meetings or workshops, etc., we really have to dress up and show up, and think about how you want to be addressed whenever you're thinking about putting on an attire, your clothing item. Just think about how people will perceive you, and then just have that in mind. The next part of that too is that you have to be fully clothed.
Why is it fully, Andrew? You don't want to be getting up in front of the camera with only the shirt on, do you?
I tell you. And a lot of times we take that for granted. I'm sure you've seen the major blunder by the CNN anchor, right? And there've been so many others that has happened. I think it was Australia recent. I'm not sure if it was Australia. I don't remember where this minister, he went into a huge meeting and started sucking on his wife's breast.
Oh my word!
And the camera. He was legal. He was legal in his own right, but
it was
have to be very much inappropriate, And his argument was, I never realized that the camera was on. But obviously, if there's going to be a meeting, if there's a virtual gathering whatsoever,
Mhm.
before the meeting actual starts, people are going to get the cameras on, people are going to be testing, so you
Mhm.
have to be mindful of that. And so he was terminated um, because of that. So we have to be mindful that not just dressing up to show up or be fully clothed, but be mindful that the cameras, light, and action can happen in any second. So be mindful of that as well. So be fully clothed. There are times when something happens in the virtual meeting and you have to get up. But if you are not fully clothed and you say, "Oh boy, how am I going?" You have to turn off your camera,
After two.
you know.
Mhm.
And then they go and be. It's also inappropriate to be in a meeting that you are supposed to be giving, your inputs, etc. And then you have to be turning your cameras off.
Off.
And I
Right.
also and a point to note is interviewers inviting candidates for interviews, virtual interviews, and they themselves not turning the cameras on. So you have this candidate show up, dress up, looking dashing and well put together, and then the interviewer does not turn the camera on. It is unprofessional. If you're inviting somebody to a virtual meeting, it means that you have to get your cameras on, unless they've clearly stated that, listen, we're not going to be using any camera. But once that has not been stated, you must have your cameras on. So be mindful of that as well. Hoodies or hoodie, whatever you call it, is a no-no for virtual meetings. You cannot show up and have your hoodie. In first of all, I don't like the nature and the meaning behind it. So you'll never get me supporting a hoodie. So maybe that's my bias coming out. Um, you know, but they're not appropriate for meetings. So be mindful of that. Capris, hats, caps, not appropriate for meetings as well. So you want to make sure that you're not having any of those when you are invited to or you're hosting a meeting. So those are my first 2 points. It sound very long, but it's only two so far. The next point, Radari, is the fact that you must notify your family and set boundaries and rules.
Uh-huh.
This is important, and I'm pretty sure that you have seen WhatsApp messages and WhatsApp videos and WhatsApp texts going around with students who've been interrupted by the parents in the background walking naked, the baby crying,
Mm.
the dog barking. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you cannot silence the dog or put the dog to sleep, or the birds chirping in the background. You can't do anything about that. But what you can do is to minimize the noise by simply closing all your windows, closing all the doors, and use that to eliminate the noise, because it's rather very distracting when you're conducting a meeting and you hear, listen, I was a part when I just, because I was trapped in COVID as well. So when I came back to Jamaica, I had to go through my 14 days quarantine and stuff. And so I was in the initial part of it, and I was a part of a training, and they had given us a break. When they gave us a break, there's this participant
Mhm.
who never muted her microphone and just thought that she could have slandered her neighbor in the most derogatory and demeaning way. And it was so bad that somebody had to say, call her name and say, "You are not on mute. We are hearing absolutely everything that you're saying."
Mhm.
And she was so involved and consumed by the conversation that even when they kept on telling her that, listen, we can hear you, she wasn't hearing us. So be mindful of that as well. I'm sure you've had some experiences as well. So what you want to do, you want to tell your family members that, look, I'm going to be going into a meeting from X time to X time. This area is off limits. So set the ground rules, and let them know that you're going to be in a meeting, etc. Put the phones on vibrate. Whenever I'm going into a meeting, um, Kay knows that. Listen, phones on vibrate, no fridge, no nothing like that, because I get also distracted
Yes.
as well. When I see somebody are looking at doing all of this, so you have to be mindful of that as well.
Mhm.
And find a quiet area that has the least amount of distractions. We can understand that you might have a young baby, so it's not really easy to find a really, really quiet area.
Right.
But what we're
Right.
saying, find the most quiet area.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Andrew Fairman of Talent Box. I have to do
Yes, yes,
that.
they need to know that they are speaking to the authority. And as you're sharing with them your credentials, it is what came to me is that we are learning these things, but the etiquette of the virtual space. We are learning quickly how to navigate that space, and you're sharing with us this morning those tips that will transform that interaction from something willy nilly to something palatable and professional.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they can never take it for granted. A lot of um, team members or corporates who show up virtually do take it for granted
Mhm.
that they can just show up anyhow. But remember that it is still a meeting. It's just happening in the virtual space because of COVID, because of this Pandora. I hear people not calling it pandemic anymore because they've tired of that word. So they're calling it Pandora, they're calling it Panasonic, any word with a P except so it's important that we pay close attention to that. And it can affect you
Mhm.
because we can't just only judge you now by how you show up physically, but it has been believed and people are believing that we have to live with COVID. And even if COVID is done away with, this virtual space, work from home, is actually a new phenomenon. It's not going to go away. People don't
Right.
realize that they can work from home and still be productive.
That's true.
So we
Right.
have to be mindful of that, Rodari. So the next point that you must pay attention to is to test your equipment way before.
Uh-huh.
Way before. Listen, I almost never made it because from this morning I was testing my equipment, and 5 minutes before, oh boy, the computer just decided that it's not going to work.
Yes.
So these things do happen,
Mhm.
right? However, if you prepare in advance, I get very clustered and nervous if I don't prepare in advance.
Mhm.
My best self is when I'm prepared and also relax.
Yes.
And to just give you an idea, when I was working overseas, my work would start 9 o'clock and I'm up from 6 o'clock. I get up, I do a little reading, I pray, I get coffee, and I get some sun because
Mhm.
I want to be in the best frame of mind so that I can deliver. It's the very same thing um, when you're showing up in the virtual space as well. So get up, test your equipment, make sure that they are working because that is important. Keep your virtual identity professional. Your virtual identity must be kept professional. So when you're going into a meeting, what we would want you to do is to use your correct name and use professional names, professional emails, professional photos, etc. So don't upload. You have Skype and you have all of these platforms that allows you to upload a
Images.
photograph.
Yes. Mhm.
Exactly. Make sure that that image that you are uploading is one that is professional and we will represent you in the best possible light. So be mindful of that because that's important.
No
Uh,
picture of me on the beach.
No picture of you on the beach. I mean, that's for Instagram. That is for something else. That is not for professional, um, uh, platforms and virtual meetings. And I mean, no, who cares? We care, but we really don't care. You know. I'm not sure how that sounds, but it's the actual reality. We care, but we really don't care. you know. Um, when you're showing up for virtual interviews as well as virtual meetings, be careful about written notes with potential answers that can possibly distract you. You realize that I have my notes, and every now and again I am looking down to kind of guide my thoughts, etc. But when you are in an interview and you have your notes written down and you are reading from it, it takes away from the interview. So be mindful of that. You want to practice, but not try to what do you call it? Memorize, so to speak. Because when you try to memorize, if you get a question that you weren't prepared for, it throws you completely off, and then your answers might have less value than what you would expect. So just study, but don't try to memorize.
Mhm.
Am I making any sense?
Yes, man. I am following. I am getting it clear. And so and to the last point, it makes the conversation more fluid if you can actually internalize the information and then respond and have a conversation more than a Q&A per se.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what you must be focused on, because there is a saying that says a lot of people communicate, but a lot of us do not connect.
Mhm.
And that's the issue in interviews, where we go and you ask me a question and I try to answer it, but there's not a mutual connection. Once there's a mutual connection, what happens? It kind of breaks down the barrier, and I now begin to really understand who you are, and really helps me to identify possible opportunities and jobs that align more closely with who you are. But if I just blandly answer these questions, I might fit you, but I might do it. It may not be the right role for you.
Mhm.
So when you connect and when you show up authentically and when you show up as your true self, it makes it a lot easier for the interviewer to identify and place you in the appropriate role as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
so the next point too is that you must maintain good posture. So no slouching, sit up straight, because that's important. um you know and yes, so I'll just leave it at that. Sit up straight, maintain good posture, because I mean, it's mainly just your upper body that will be showing as well, but you want to make sure that you are alert and you're sitting up straight.
Attentively.
You must be attentive. You must be attentive. You must pay
So,
attention.
and question on that point. So we started doing these virtual conversations, cameras on and everything. And one thing I'm trying to balance is maintaining eye contact, and that is looking into the camera lens, because
Yeah.
versus possibly looking away and looking at a screen, right? It is something I've even noticed on LinkedIn, and the presenters, they are reading from a screen, and it just comes across a little odd when somebody, like now, you are on my computer screen but the camera is directly in front of me. How would you deal with that situation?
So you must look intently into the camera, because what you are using now to build a connection is actually the eye contact.
Mhm.
Before you could, I mean, given the fact that if we remove sexual harassment, because we have to be mindful of how we touch people in the workplace.
Mhm.
And Jamaicans, it has, I've worked with so many other nationalities, and when they bring up Jamaica, they're always saying that, they're afraid of sexual harassment because we're a touchy type of a people. We like to hug up and touch up and stuff like that, But when we go in the workplace, it's kind of, it's a little bit
Hands
different.
off, yes.
Exactly. Now we are in the virtual space. We've removed that to some extent, so we have to rely heavily on the eye contact.
Mhm.
That's important. I don't believe you should gaze or stare the person down because it can be a little bit intimidating,
Mhm.
right? But what you want to do is to intently, every few seconds, you take your eye off the camera, you go back. So it's kind of a fluid type of a conversation that you are having rather than just looking intently like this. I mean, I mean, it's a little bit intimidating if you do that. If I would say, I've seen people, I mean, senior executives, super successful here in Jamaica, doing videos, and it was just terrible. And I had to reach out to her and say, I love your videos, but I think you need to back up from the camera a little bit and do not look so intent. And she had bright eyes, too, like,
Oh
I mean,
wow.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, don't scare us. um, so, and that's a good point that you brought up, Radari, that you must look intently into the camera and use your eyes as a conversation, rather than just intently just staring and glaring. That's important. So the next point that people need to pay attention is the fact that they must remove all distracting and possible offensive displays
From your
in the back.
surroundings, from behind you. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. A lot of times they don't pay attention to that, but anything that is sexual in nature, anything that is hostile, anything that discriminates against age, whatever the case may be, you're not sure who is going to show up in the meeting that has an issue with it.
Mhm.
Um, so anything that is, as I mentioned, sexual, that can constitute a sexual harassment, because don't forget that sexual harassment is not a physical touch. A lot of us will believe that, and maybe this is something that I need to touch on, workplace bullying and sexual harassment,
Mhm.
in some other segments. But sexual harassment or harassment in general does not necessarily mean physically assaulting the person. It can be words that you're using. It can be graffitis. It can be graphics as well. Once the person clearly identifies that this is offensive, I do not like it, I'm being offended by it, it can be classified as sexual harassment.
Harassment.
So
Mhm.
exactly, or harassment. So make sure that anything that is potentially offensive is removed from the background, from the backdrop. Be mindful of. You realize that the only thing you're seeing in mine is actually the switch, and it's because I can't move it.
Yeah,
If I could move it, I actually would.
a
Um,
clean background.
Absolutely, absolutely. A clean one is the best one. So be mindful of that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into Career Corner with Andrew Fairman from Talent Box. And just to tell you a little bit about what we do, we assist job seekers with job opportunities, and we also help employers to find talent. So this program helps job seekers, but it also helps employers as well. So if you are looking for the right talent um, for your organization, then you need to contact me. You can reach me on 876-575-3298 or 876-618-6395. Those are the numbers. And you might say, why do I need Andrew? I can just advertise the role myself and I can just interview the people. And I said, well, yes, you can in fact do that. But are you employing the best strategies and the best tactics to ensure that you find the best possible talent? So that's why you need to call us. We ensure that you get the right person at the right time and in the right position.
So, Andrew,
Okay?
I have the 876-575-3298, but you shared a second number just now. Could you repeat that number for me, please?
So the other number is 876-618-6395.
All right, got you. All right, right. So we still got 5 minutes to converse, and so we have touched on the topic this morning is showing up professionally in a virtual way, and we dealt with attire, we dealt with well, attire generally. We
Yes.
dealt with setting boundaries, making sure that your environment is conducive to the meeting, not having family members shouting and carrying on in your space.
Yeah.
Manage that situation as best possible. We also dealt with keeping your virtual ID professional, and we were on to posture, and I can't read my own handwriting. Uh, Harassment was the last topic
Yes,
we touched on.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Yes. You see, that's what happened. We're not looking at the camera and trying to scribble at the same time. Yeah. So harassment is the last point you raised, and making sure that our background is clean, free
Yes.
of any offensive material. How about being in your bedroom and having that dirty socks on the bed and your bed not made and all of these things?
Listen, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You know, and I've had that experience where I hosted well, a particular event. Maybe if I tell the event, I probably get in trouble. So I hosted a particular event and invited a presenter.
Mhm.
And let me tell you something, it was distasteful, to say the least. Now, as you touched on that, something just dropped in my head. The fact that when you are having your camera should be as much as possible eye level with you. I've
Mhm.
seen a lot of people who they're on interviews and the camera seem to be placed in their lap. So they're looking down and all you're seeing, you're looking all the way up in their nostril.
Nostrils, yes, man. I mean,
You know, it's I mean, I don't know how these people do that and get away with it, but it's not good. We know that you're not trained, but guess what? There are a lot of people who are what they call them video coaches. The COVID has opened so many spaces that you have people now coaching people how to show up virtually, how to do videos, etc. And I mean, it's just asking somebody, do you think this looks good? I think
yes,
this is appropriate, so that you present your best self.
yes, yes.
Yeah, you
Understood.
must do that. You must do that. Yeah. So that's it. I'd like to share the fact that I'm still hiring for some roles, some 3 executive roles that I'm hiring for, and I think I shared those last week.
Can
But
remind
again,
us.
in
Yes.
Montego Bay, I need a telesales manager. It's a new company coming to Jamaica, and in Kingston, I need a rating analyst with a heavy accounting background who will be really looking at risk and rewards for the investment space, so to speak. Um, and that is a new company coming to Jamaica as well. And then I need a commercial and logistics manager. And this is a high level role that pays up to 9 million. So if you are at that level, you can reach out to me.
Where? What
You
area
know,
is that?
that is
Commercial
in
and logistics manager. Kingston as well.
Commer- Kingston. So that is in Kingston, and that is for commercial and logistics manager, a huge player here in Jamaica. Hopefully, I can find the person locally. If not, we have to look elsewhere. But we want to hire a Jamaican. So tell your family, tell your friends. You can get the listing or the job description at www.careerja.com. Again, www.careerja.com. And you need to go on and register. This month is the last month. For our competition for you to win some prizes. So go on at www.careerja.com, upload your resume, upload your photographs, etc., and make sure that your profile is completed so that you can enter to win three
One of
one
three
of three
prizes.
cash, exactly one of 3 prizes that we have.
All right, got you loud and clear, Andrew. That is our time. So with that, I want to say thank you for joining us again. Good to have you on the virtual space. Looking good. The gear is up to par.
Oh boy,
Sounding
thank you, sir.
crystal clear. So we can now hear you and see you clearly. Thank you for joining us right here inside the Career Corner. That's the big boss, the head hunter, Mr. Andrew Fairman, speaking to us on showing up professionally in a virtual way. That was our topic this morning. Andrew, catch you later. All right.
Thank you. Have a good
All
one.
right. So we hit the break. Take a word from our sponsor. And when we return, it is all about your Monday math trivia. So keep it right here. Fit FM JA. Fit FM 96.7 and streaming online at www.fitfmja.com. Soon forward.
Looking for your next career opportunity? Or are you seeking general career advice? Join Andrew Fairman and the Talent Box team this and every Monday at 8:30 a.m. for the Career Corner. Your career